I'm excited for today because I'm risking it all and we're going to do everything live from scratch. Isn't that a story? That's always a story for success, right? When you're doing tech demos. So hopefully this all goes well. Amen, Rick. I agree. All right, y'all. So today we're going to talk about building AI assistants. Let me actually share my screen to show you a little bit of what y'all told me when you submitted your forms today. Can we all see my beautiful screen here now? Great. So when y'all submitted your forms, you let me know that a lot of you care about creating content with AI and GPTs, a bit about automation, marketing, and brand identity and business development. Um, I think that covers like the right side of the circle. That's what most people are interested in. So, and automation in general. And so I'm going to tell you now, we're going to get to automation, but not today. And the reason is because automation is better done, in my opinion, like in ChatGPT, but also outside of it. And so I want to save that for a different conversation on how you can kind of take GPT and break it out of it and use ChatGPT and other AI to automate more of your workflows right behind the scenes. And so we're going to get to it, just not today. But we are going to talk a lot about creating content and brand identity and business development. Um, and depending on where things go, we might tap into the other things, but that's where we're going to go. So now the best thing to do when creating content is to have a framework. Now we were going to use my other persona I came up with our last session, Supreme Haulers, and that's a brand, and this is a fictitious brand, but the brand does like luxury disposal services, right? That's what I came up with. But instead, I wanted to switch to something I'm a bit more familiar with because it makes it easier to come up with brand identity, right? And messaging. And so because of that, I turned myself into Sam, the fictitious owner of a brand photography business, because we're going to use that information as the basis of building this GPT. And so in the chat, give me a 1 if you've made a custom GPT before. If you made a custom GPT or you're used to using ChatGPT to create personas and giving it like rich information to have it kind of take on a different personality. Okay, great. I see it in the chat. We're good. Okay, then you're going to be in for a treat, Regina. Okay, this is coming in. Okay, good, good, good. So we're going to switch. And the reason why I have a bit of a formal way of doing this is because a GPT or an AI is only as good as the information you give it. And so what I'm going to do is, one, I probably should have done this first, but I'm going to log out of my normal ChatGPT account and use my test one. So we're going to start with Sam's photography business today. And so what I have here is, this is a structured format. You're going to get access to this at the end, so don't like squirm and feel like you won't be able to reproduce this, because you will. And so the first thing you want to do is start a chat. Now, this is the workflow I go through when I'm trying to set a good baseline, right? Remember, an AI is only as good as the information you give it. And so that's what we're going to start. So we're going to go into ChatGPT and start a new chat here. And this is essentially priming this chat session so it knows I'm asking it to be a bit of a business strategist today. I want it to help me build knowledge of my brand in a way that works with AI. And so I'm just giving it an initial prompt so it knows what we're going to do. Now, because this would be really boring if you watch me do this, I kind of did this minor activity beforehand, which is I talked into ChatGPT and I essentially gave my backstory for Sam. And I think I'm going to call this Sam Shots Photography. So I also want there to be knowledge of my brand name, Sam Shots Photography. I don't know why I didn't pick something easier to say, but there's that. And I went and I blurbed, I think it was like 15 minutes of me just dumping like everything about this brand persona. And so I'm going to copy it and you're going to see like literally it's the blurb. This is the whole transcript. I went on about what I love doing, what type of clients, why structure my package in a certain way, right? Why do I have a signature set of brand photos? When I started doing photography, I literally just dumped my guts out, right? And so now I'm going to make ChatGPT aware of my backstory. So I'm also tracking it here in this document for later, but I also want to make ChatGPT aware. So we're going to come back over here and say, great. First off, here's my backstory. And notice that backstory is not like super edited. I didn't go in and like tweak the typos in the transcription, or even if you type it yourself, like it doesn't need all that. Because I think AI does better when you give it like your raw sense of self when it comes to what we're doing. So here's my backstory. When you're done reading, say next. And I like to do this because if you've ever given ChatGPT a bunch of stuff, it will kind of assume what it wants you to do, and it will just either repeat it back to you or just become really long-winded. And I don't need its extra input right now. I'm just going to give you my backstory, and then we're going to move forward. So that's my backstory. Let's collapse that. Now we're going to move on to mission. Let's say, again, I might be new at business, right? I don't really have a brand mission. And so or I might not have like articulated it very clearly, right? And if you're new to defining your brand identity, the difference between your mission, your vision, your promise, it might be fuzzy. So that's okay. We're going to ask ChatGPT to help us with that. So now that it knows a bit about me, I'm going to ask it to tell me what it thinks the mission of my brand is. Right? And this is pretty spot on. It deduced that my mission is to empower business owners with high quality, versatile brand photography that enhances their professional presence, supports their marketing efforts, and provides them with seamless, stress-free experience. This is all true. I belabored a couple of these points in that backstory. And so this looks great. If it's not great, you can go back and forth with ChatGPT, or you can, paste it here and work on it, whether that's in a Google Doc or wherever you're tracking your brand insights. But my advice is whatever you do, give ChatGPT the finished version, right? You want it to have an up-to-date understanding of your brand. So if you're going to tweak it and say, that's not quite right, make your changes, but deliver that back to ChatGPT. Now I want ChatGPT to help me shape the vision of my brand, right? Maybe I'm not great at articulating this. And I want you to notice like how simple these prompts are. They're just one-line questions. What's my mission? What's my vision? ChatGPT is deciding how wordy or verbose to be here. And it's probably going to run based off of my instructions and my preferences I gave it. And we talked about that in the last session, how to set up your ChatGPT experience so it knows how to talk to you. And so this is good. It said that my vision is to redefine brand photography by creating an effortless, empowering experience for business owners where they feel seen, confident, and fully equipped to showcase their brand across every platform. That is very true. That's intense. Through thoughtful planning, technical precision, and personalized approach, you aim to make high quality brand photography not just a luxury, but strategic asset to support long-term business growth. This all makes sense. And I'll explain to you why it's pulling this apart. Because I did used to do brand photography. There is a recording of the last session. I'll send that out to everyone. When I was doing brand photography, I was really, really like religious intent about delivering files to my clients because they didn't know what files the images need to be, because back then they also did web design and print design. And so I know the difference between high resolution, low resolution, how the images need to look, how images need to be photographed and framed if I know we're going to cut out the background and do things like that. Like, yes, there's AI, but there's a lot of stuff you do in the photo shoot and before the photo shoot to make sure all these things are seamless. And so I was like, in this transcript, I belabor the point that when I deliver photos, I know exactly which photos I make at 3,600 pixels, and I, make it at 86 pixels per inch. If you know any of these numbers, that's perfectly fine. And then like what pictures I particularly make at print resolution for my clients, and how for every photo I give them, it comes at least 3 resolutions or sizes, if not 5, right? And how I create the different signature sets of photos. Like I went into it. And so this is probably why it picked up technical precision, because in the transcript, I was just naming like actual specifications of photos and why I do things a certain way. But I actually don't want this to bias it later, so I'm just gonna remove it. I'm gonna remove it for now. And now we're gonna move on to the promise. This one is really simple. What is the promise and value proposition of my brand or business, right? Now, this might seem like a bunch of marketing activity, But what I found is that this is the basic information I end up having to share with any contractor I onboard into my business, any team member I bring in, right? Because this also is how I articulate the values of my business, whether it's just me or it's a handful of people. There's a lot about the ethos of behind what I do and why I do things a certain way, right? And so this isn't just brand identity, like if you think about it in traditional sense, or in a more like kind of graphic and visual sense of, oh, this is all fluffy stuff about my business. Actually, no, this is more of documenting the core ethos of who I am, what we do, and how we do it. And so this kind of information is important to give to any person, let alone, an AI that might be doing things on behalf of your business. And so you can imagine this kind of depth of information will get a GPT to really begin to impersonate my brand. Now, this is where the prompt gets a little bit more fun. Instead of just asking it one question, we're actually specifying how I want it to respond now. I want it to tell me the demographics of my customers, describe my customers in a specific way, who I serve, what their pain points are, and then describe the tone um, and how I need to engage with my audience via content, right? And so this is a slightly more structured prompt, but it's going to give us better insights. So instead of a ChatGPT just kind of winging it, we're going to give it an example or a framework for how to respond to us. So this is it's coming up with things. Now naturally you would know this yourself. Um and so I'm going to make some tweaks on this. I'm going to say I mostly serve coaches, consultants, professional service providers who often speak and do public. And I think that's it. Not tech creatives specifically, right? I don't want it to get. I just leverage my tech knowledge. They're not sure what they need. That's true. Okay. With pain point 5, because I don't think that works. And then and 4. Not everybody's comfortable in front of the camera. I like the rest of that for tone. More friendly. How do I want that to change that? I like clear, but I am also friendly. I think I want that to come across that way. And then professional yet approachable. I don't mind that. Confident and assured is fine. So we're going to tweak a little bit of that because I want to make sure ChatGPT has a better notion of Sam, who she is and what she does. So far, from everything I'm doing, has anybody learned anything or have any suggestions even for how I'm going about um pulling these insights about my business and Sam's business and brand? Good, 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 good. Good, good. Okay. So this is fun. I kind of like what I'm seeing here. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. We're blazing through this. But in truth, when I do this myself, whether it is literally for me or even when I'm working with tech clients, I'll do parts of this with them. And behind the scenes, I'll use ChatGPT because it helps me understand their users. So I use this framework for a number of things, but it might take me 30 minutes or an hour, right? If I'm really set aside time, particularly on a weekend or something, say I really need to get into like my brand identity and my preferences to speed things up. So it could take you time if you're still working through this. Yes, Elaine said that she can see this being used to prepare to launch a course, um, for sure. And so it's okay if you're like, hey, she's moving so fast. Does it take that much time? Like, it might take you a little bit more because you're going to be more thoughtful about your own brand. And then generally, I like to give information about my contact details and where people can find me online, because if ChatGPT knows or AI knows, then when I ask it to write brand material or emails or copy, it knows where to pull the information from. If Sabrina asked, how does this play out if you've already given a lot of information about your brand? Do you have to retrain ChatGPT? Yes and no. So I'm gonna get right to that. Actually, I have a good example for that. So here I'm gonna say my website is Sam Shots Photography. Actually, samshots.photo. We're gonna go with that. I hope this is not a real website. I gotta start checking these things before I just make stuff up. I'm gonna say my link to book a shoot is, because I think that's gonna be one of her important links here, is let's meet, because she likes to meet people with a discovery call. Okay. Okay. It's going to be let's meet. And what else? Okay. My social handle on IG. And let's say she has a YouTube. Is at Sam Shows. Okay. So that's enough. That's enough information. Um, yes, give it your contact info. I'll even specify like what is my personal email versus my public inbox email, right? Because when you give it context, and then later when you're writing emails and you give context to say, hey, this is a cold outreach, right? This is a public blog post. By pairing those things together, then ChatGPT is smarter about knowing which bits of information to use. And so you can never be overly detailed about stuff like this. Okay, so I have all this stuff here and I like this. Now you might be thinking, why won't she go back and paste it all into ChatGPT? Well, I might, but really, this is what I want to call to what Sabrina said. As we're going, ChatGPT, I have the memory feature enabled, and so it's learning things about me and it chooses when to commit things to memory. So this is where you might actually have to think about what ChatGPT is storing in its memory. Because if anything that it just tucks away in here becomes outdated or doesn't really make sense, then you're going to have to delete it. And a good giveaway is if one, you have the feature turned on, and then two, you might notice from chat to chat, ChatGPT is like stubborn about certain things. It's like, hey, I told you I was working on this today. Like, why are you giving me all this old information from like a week ago? Well, it might actually be in your memory. And so clearing your memory or deleting things that don't make sense could be really helpful. And then when you work with custom GPTs, and I'll get to that soon, the files you put in there, you can always change your files as the information changes. And so you do have to retrain, but normally you'll get indicators in the chat that tell you, I think you're veering left here. And so that'll tell you when you need to go back and retrain things. So great, we've gone through the activity of getting all my contact information. Now, the reason why I like using this particular workbook I've made is because as I fill these things in, it puts everything back together for me in a brand brief. And so what I can do is just print this as a PDF. That's why I like it. So it's all together now, and I can just go Command P, and I can save this as a PDF to my computer, and I can upload this all to ChatGPT. So now you're possibly seeing how we might be able to turn this into a document that helps the GPT know what we're doing every time we sit down to chat. And so great, we've gone through the brand information. The next thing we want to do is get to the voice. So ChatGPT needs writing samples to know my voice. In order to make this very efficient, in the same chat that we're in, we would normally upload our writing samples. Now, I don't have a bunch of writing samples for Sam, but instead, I think what I'm going to do is copy that backstory, because the backstory has a lot of my voice. So we're just going to do one. What I do personally is I might have a newsletter, I might have a blog post, I might have a transcript from, maybe it was like a pitch call or something. I will take all those in and I'll put them in here as different writing samples and track my samples. And you can add as many as you want. But just gives me a place to store it. And so now that we have the writing samples, you want to make sure ChatGPT also has them. And so what I'm going to do is actually copy this. I'm going to go back to this chat. I'm going to upload the latest version of that file again because I want it to know this is the latest version of my brand brief. Also, here is a writing sample. Let me know you're ready for the next step. So it's going to go through. I read that PDF. Great. Now it's reviewed everything and it's ready to move on. Awesome. Next part. So we gave it a writing sample and we're going to move on to tone and style. So tone and style, we want this to kind of analyze the way that we write. There's a bunch of prompts here. I'm just going to blow through them and we're going to just go straight and copy the prompt. So what we're going to do is that we're going to ask ChatGPT to analyze each piece of content that it was given. And so we want to do it separately because if you're giving it like hundreds and hundreds of words, ChatGPT does forget, right? It can't remember everything in a chat, particularly after so many words. And so that's why you want to give it a writing sample and then you want to ask it to analyze it. And so this is just a prompt pre-written for you. Just go in and we paste it. And so what it's going to do is going to look at that writing sample. It's going to analyze my tone, look for any adjectives, and then describe it for me in this format. Now notice this fun little sneaky bit I did. I added this 2 stars before and after the adjective. And so that's why it's bold. So you get really specific with how you want ChatGPT to respond when you know how to like style the way it responds, right? And so that's why it gave me just the adjectives. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to come back and I'm going to paste it here. Great. So now it understands my voice. Now I want it to get a good glimpse of my style. Another prompt. I want it to analyze my style and then use adjectives again in a similar format. So we're going to copy that prompt and we're going to paste it. Now, I could tell you that I'm a mad scientist who just knew the right things to ask. That's not true. I, in the years of developing my business, I've hired a few coaches, I've done a few trainings and classes, and I realized that any kind of business development coaching I've received, they actually have me do these things. And so what I've done with this, which is take my learnings and put it together in a repeatable process, right? I've codified some of the things I've learned. And I just made prompts and I'm pretty specific about how like ChatGPT to respond to because it gets like wordy and stuff. Meh. So I took all of my little idiosyncrasies and I put them into good prompts. So now I'm not a brand strategist or specialist. I'm just really opinionated, y'all. All right. Now this might be the pro tip that takes us over the edge when we're writing content here. We want ChatGPT to be a bit less creative when we want it to be better at emulating us, right? And again, this makes sense for a business assistant, right? You want ChatGPT to understand, especially when it comes to writing content and copy. You want it to really begin to impersonate you a little bit. And so what I want it to do from my content writing sample is pick out phrases and signature words. Now, if I'd given it more samples, it would have been a lot better at doing that. But it's okay. It's fine. What we're going to do is that I'm going to ask it to, for my phrases, go through and figure out what are my key phrases. So this is another prompt, and it's going to tell it to review each of the content pieces and then provide a full list of phrases. There's only one, so this should be pretty quick. Well, this was a rough cut, so I like all the filler words I picked out. Oh, I feel so exposed, the filler words. Oh my goodness. So it's coming up with a list. And again, it's formatting it the way I told it to, right? Everything has a bullet because I have a dash. And because I put those double stars before and after the phrase, it's following my formatting here. Okay, so now, I feel a little exposed here. Let's take out the things that don't really matter. Nope, that's just filler for me. Filler, I use the word so. Oh my gosh, all of my fillers. So clearly I didn't give it enough content for it to know. So guys, come up with 3 writing samples, okay? I like funny enough. I overly use essentially to fill. I have lots of like filler words that aren't Okay, the thing is, I think I like those four. My version of this for my brand has a lot more phrases. And then vocabulary. If you have niche vocabulary, right, you want to come up with the word bank too. And so this prompt will help you do that based off of those content samples. I'm going to paste it. Now it's going to go. And I just don't want it in any kind of format because I'm picky. So I'm asking to categorize my words and give me that category with a nice heading. That's an H3 heading. And then for every word, comma delimited. So give me a comma delimited list of words. Um, it's my browser. The purple is my browser. It took me forever to find a good browser theme as well that like matched like my brand purple. I was very picky about that too. So we have my glossary here. This is great. High resolution cutout. Yes. Okay, so this is definitely pulling all these words that it could from my backstory. And again, if you had multiple pieces of content, it would go through and do that for you. So if there's anything here that you don't like, this is the time to weed it out. I don't know if coach needs to be there. I don't think we need those things. Conversational connections. That creates, I think it's going to create too much writing bias later. So I think plan prep, that's fair. Over deliver. That's true. I like to over deliver. That's true. Signature set. Okay. So this is good. I like that it picked up the word signature set because that's not necessarily terminology that other photographers use. And I used to use that and say, this is your signature set of photos. These are the photos that if you're a personality in your brand, you are the center of your brand, it's a personal brand, or you're just doing this for yourself. When I photographed entrepreneurs or professionals, right? You wanted a signature set of photos that you could use for 1 to 3 years. And I would create the photo sets in that way. And so that's where that term came from. So I'm really happy it knew to pick that one up. Okay, great. Now words to avoid, right? One level up now. One level up. If you don't have a list of words that you're like, please don't ever say this, right? Like, and you might want ChatGPT to never say the word unleash or revolutionary or whatever. You can ask it. Now, this prompt is a little bit different than the other prompts, right? If you look at it, it's starting with asking it to review the pieces of content and then in my writing voice, describe words or phrases that I may never say to my customers. And then I have actually put that description of my customers back into the prompt. The reason is because ChatGPT forgets. And so sometimes it's just easy to remind it and say, hey, yes, pick out words that I might never say to my customers. By the way, this is that definition of my customers I gave you, like earlier in the chat. And so it's going to go through and do that, but it's also going to format these words in this specific format that I've given it. So I said, hey, give me a category, describe why these type of words do not align with my brand or alienate customers, and then give me examples of those words. And so I like this, right? I would probably never say metadata or megapixels to most of my clients, right? I wouldn't, yeah, I like this flawed, bad, or wrong because I want to nurture confidence in a shoot. This is funny. Lit, low key. Actually, I would say some of these words. That's really, really funny. So it probably thinks I'm more professional than I really am. Got it. Okay, so we're gonna copy those words. We're gonna come back over here, and now we're gonna paste it. And so because I would say those things, we're gonna remove that. Yes, I do like a high touch premium tailored feel. So I'm not gonna use the words discount or budget or cheap. I might use the word savings, but not budget or cheap. I like this passive or uncertainty. Yeah, we want people to feel confident. I feel like they're in good hands. I'm going to catch them on the chat here real quick. Yes, yes, we like a good business Bible revamp. Yeah, this is really helpful starting with this. And so the prompt helps you get started, right? It's kind of hard to like get out of your mental frame of being so pro your business to just say, okay, what's like anti? What's like the opposite? But the prompt will get you going. And then you can tweak this to your liking. And so this is now all of our writing rules. And so once you've gone through and written your voice, you end up with a voice brief, which I think, what was that last one? Yeah, we're not going to include content strategy and themes. Yeah, we're not going to do that one. But we have style, tone, writing style. So this is like your voice style, and then your tone. So now we have a document that describes my voice. And again, I'm just going to print it out and save this now. So now I have my voice brief. Save that away. Okay. So this is great. We now have a brand brief and a voice brief in all of like 35-ish minutes, 35-ish minutes. That's awesome. Now we're going to get to the GPT part of stuff. So let's go do that. What I want to do is I want to be kind of meta. I want to be meta, and I want to have ChatGPT help me make the GPT. And so in order to do that, I'm actually going to switch to the desktop app because I think it's a lot easier to get it to log in, to get it to work by just talking to it. So again, I'm going to do a quick sign in here. And of course, it's happening in another window. I'm about to switch. I gotta go get my sign in code. Let's go do that. I wonder. Where did it go? Okay. Let's see. Will it give me a code? Maybe not. Okay, I think we're stuck in the browser for now. All right, that's fine. I can make it work. So, back to the browser. Uh, let's go. So I want to create a GPT, and I'm gonna start a new chat. I'm gonna ask it. I need help making a GPT that can write. And let's go back to our list of things that we said we want to achieve today. A blog. Great. That can write blogs and social media posts for my business using my brand voice. What do you need to know to write an awesome prompt? Again, let's say I'm not a prompt expert. Let's say I don't know where to start, right? I'm just going to ask the AI, what are things that you think you would need to know? Now look at that. Wouldn't you imagine? Now in the settings, it believes that I'm Supreme Haulers. And so that's why it threw in Supreme Haulers, but it's okay. The format here makes sense. Brand voice and style, content length. Okay, short and punchy. Content topics. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm on my Mac and I'm going to do a voice memo because voice on that voice memo should give me a decent transcript. So let's do that. Okay, so let's go through and answer these questions. Brand and style. I definitely think I want more of a luxury and more minimal. Like I don't want it to be too like up in the sky and superfluous. Like this needs to be practical. But still, I think my clients are more concerned about quality over quantity, if that makes sense. And when I write my blogs and my newsletters and things like that, I prefer for that to be in first person, and use I instead of we, because right now I'm a freelancing photographer. Um, and so that makes sense. And just so you know, I know you think I'm Supreme Haulers, but today I'm not. Today I'm Sam of Sam Shoots or Sam Shots Photography. So let's just forget that we're talking about Kyle from Supreme Haulers for the sake of today. Um, I'm going to end up uploading a document that has my words or phrases and all those other specifics. So we'll get to that later. Um, am I looking for short and punchy social posts? I like short and punchy, empowering social posts for Instagram, more storytelling on Instagram. For LinkedIn, I like storytelling as well, but I want my language to more so speak to the business mindset of delivering the value of the brand photography, um, and helping people feel comfortable. So if you're saying you can't, I'm on the paid version, but don't see it. Okay, so it's going, it's going, it's going. And so on the back end here, um, my Mac is gonna take that audio and transcribe it for us. And then I'm gonna upload that because that's a lot easier to do than it is to just type all of that because I didn't have it all pre-prepped. So let's see. There we go, transcription. Great. I felt like that took a lot longer to say than it looks like when it's typed. That always gets me, but there it is. That's everything. And I'm going to upload that voice brief. So because I have that voice brief in a file now, I don't have to like come up with it every time I work with ChatGPT, right? I could just upload it. And so it's going to have that PDF. I'm going to read through that and I'm going to answer a bunch of questions. Sabrina is asking, is it better to transcribe versus using the speak feature? I mean, you can use either one. I just don't like their advanced mode because I don't like it talking back to me. Like, I'm not that kind of person. I don't know why it needs to do this whole, like, speak back. Even though I like its voice, I do. I like the voice that I have. I just think it's really slow. And so I prefer to do transcription. And then the desktop app is really easy because in the box where you type, there's a microphone icon to the right, and you can just click it, and it will do your voice to text for you. Okay, so this is interesting. ChatGPT also decided that it needed to, yeah, change its memory because it thinks I bet you it's saving my identity. Yeah, Sam. It's Sam because I was like, I'm not Kyle today. Got it. Okay. Um, Look at this. So it took this to come up with a role and voice prompt for me. You are a brand photographer who writes in da 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 da. Awesome, expressive. I like this. It came up with guidelines, and then it because I was specific about the platforms, it picked out like I write differently for different platforms and different mediums. Um, it's picking that preferred language stuff that we gave it in the instructions. It is also giving some examples and formats, right? And I didn't tell it to do all this. So this is just ChatGPT's best guess at helping me. And so the reason why I'm not going to give y'all a master like content creating prompt is because honestly, if you're asking ChatGPT to help you do something that you're not expert in, you're probably going to go with what it gives you. That's probably what you would do too. And so we're going to go with that prompt. I don't have any issues with this prompt. But now, how do we turn this into a repeatable GPT that we can use over and over again? Oop. So we're going to go to My GPTs, and you're going to go create a GPT. And so what I'm going to do is in another tab, go back to that prompt. And go back. There we go. Now I do not want to use ChatGPT for every search. So unnecessary. We're going to copy this, come back over to, we're going to come back to the GPT page. We're going to configure it, and we're going to put in instructions. Those same instructions that we just got. I'm not going to do too much tweaking so you can see it. I'm just going to remove that bit, remove all that extra stuff. And so now it knows my voice, my content guidelines, my preferred language, and all this other stuff. But of course, it's summarized. It's summarized a lot of the information. So I want this to have full context. And what I'm going to do, not create a new action, I'm going to upload my PDFs. So now I have my voice PDF and my brand identity PDF. The reason why I uploaded those two is because I want this to have both pictures of who I am, right? If I actually wanted it to write like me and be better, what I've found is taking all those writing samples as well in a PDF and just uploading the writing sample changes everything. And so you can name it writing sample and it will use it. And again, because this is all AI, the way you name the files also kind of makes it easier for the GPT to know what it's supposed to do with that knowledge. So if I call it writing samples, then it's going to be more likely to refer to that when it writes for me. I'm going to turn off web search the canvas, Dolly. I don't need any of that. And this little sneaky bit, if you don't want ChatGPT to use it to train and improve their models, you can uncheck that as well. Okay, so that's great. I have given it instructions, but now there's all this other stuff, and it likes to be helpful, and it will like try and like name your GPT, give it a description and conversation starters. But I want to be lazy, so I'm going to say review your instructions in the uploaded files, write a name, description, and conversation starters, because I don't really want to come up with that. Oh, okay, you want to be silly. Got it. Well, we're just going to give you my voice brief, and then these are your instructions. And then we're going to ask it again. So it's going to go and it's going to do a whole thing and update the GPT for us. It's going, it's going, it's going. Awesome. Okay, that's fair. And now we have shared instruction on photography images, kind of off. Yes. Now, you are an assistant. Now, you could create a GPT that you share with people. And so that's where you would click anyone with the link. And then if you give the link to somebody, anyone, they can use it. It used to be that people used to have a paid account to use GPTs, but not anymore. So if you make something with a GPT, you can share it. But this is my personal marketing assistant. I don't want other people to write like me, right? And so I'm not going to share it. It's for me. So we're going to save that. And then if you even wanted to, you can make an avatar, which sometimes I do. I'll make like different fun caricatures or come up with logos, so it's really easy to tell what the GPT is. But now I have one that can write like me. And so I need help writing a blog about how to prep for a photo shoot. Look at this. Okay. So now in my blurb that I did about my brand for Sam here, I verbalize some things about how to prep for a shoot. So now, because it doesn't have like my writing history and samples to know that in this specific chat, it's not going to pull from it. But this is just kind of winging it, right? This is doing its own thing. And I'm specifically using my new marketing copy assistant. It's right here, right? And so it's going through, it's doing the bit, it's using the emojis, like it's doing its whole bit here. But let's say, I'm just not looking for ChatGPT to come up with something, right? I want it to be pretty good. And so what I'm going to do is do a new chat. And this is the powerful thing about GPTs. This is a brand new chat. I'm going to say, hey, okay, I want you to search the web. What are 5 top things someone planning a brand photo shoot should do to prepare for an awesome shoot? Right? And let's see what deep research does. I'm curious. Are you looking for general photo shoot, specific industry? I'm looking for tips about preparing for weather, indoors and outdoors, and for styling for women. Let's be specific here, styling for women, on how to use multiple pieces, excuse me, with a few outfits. So let's get specific. Let's see what happens. Especially if you're doing shorter shoots and you don't have a lot of time for wardrobe changes, knowing how to use those pieces would be really, really helpful. So it is going. It's doing the research thing. Yo, this is the first time I've used deep research, by the way. I'm risking it all right now. I just couldn't resist. All right. So what this means for you is that, yes, you could ask ChatGPT to shoot from the hip and come up with stuff. But my advice is to do a little bit of research, whether you're using AI or not, to come up with the basis of that information. I think writing that first draft, that second draft, with the foundations of what you're trying to communicate, even if for me, a lot of times it is a transcript. It's me just blabbing for 15 minutes on the app I use is Clef Notes. I love that app. And I just blab, 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 blab. And then I'll take it into ChatGPT or some other process and say, hey, clean this up, you know? And so this is actually doing a lot of work. It's going to take some time. It is searching the web. Look at that. All the sources. It's going. Great. So while the deep research one is going, let's start another chat. We're just going to do a regular search. Because that's going to be really well thought out. Okay, great. This is awesome. Get a couple sources. And now we're going to say, all right, now I need to turn this into a blog. But I want you to watch this. At the top, I'm using ChatGPT 4.0. Notice that I already have a marketing assistant. So if I clear this, or you can go to the front of this, and just do the @ symbol. If you do @ it will pull up all of your GPTs. So in the same chat, you could actually use multiple GPTs and have them working together. So I'm going to have my marketing copy assistant come in and now turn this into a blog. I know it changes everything when you realize you can have different specialist GPTs write the thing for you. And so it's going to go through and write this. And for whatever reason, using the GPTs don't work if you have your chats in the projects. And so this is a lot of the reasons why I don't like using projects, because I already have specialist GPTs. I know other people will, work on their chat and then put it back in the project and take it out if you have to use a GPT. I don't. If I know I have to do some legit work and I have my different GPTs going for me, yes, this is what I do. And to Regina's point, you can definitely create specific GPTs. I specifically have one called blessing.ai. And it literally, its only job is to write things in my voice and to sound like me. It has all my samples and all my stuff in it. All my other GPTs are specialists, right? It's like if I hired a brand photographer in my own business, they're not going to be me, but they're going to be really, really good at taking photos. So, Rhonda, I would say, Rhonda's question is, how many samples did I give it? I gave it 5 or 6. I picked really good newsletters that I liked. I did a raw transcript, my backstory. I always include that because that has such of my so many good details about why I do what I do. I've even included things like why I used to work with nonprofits and how I work with them now. It has a lot of context in there. It's truly my backstory. And that has more of my natural voice and speaking cadence that I gave it polished pieces as well. But yeah, so now we have this blog post and it's going, and it pulled all that information together. And so we have something here that I might really use. Now, I showed you some tips about formatting and stuff like that. This is where things get really good. If I had a blog-specific GPT and it understood the format of my blogs, not the format of how I post them on my website, but how I need them to look in my Google Doc, right, when I'm working on them. Not only will it then write the blog for me, it will also format it the right way, right? And so this is how we can really get our GPTs dialed in to create tools in our business that really work. And so we didn't get down to social posts, but I think the blog was a good example. And I wanted to let you know that GPT Factory document you're looking at here, that's available for pre-order. I've actually been working on this since last December. So you're not only going to get this guide on how to create GPTs and create that source information that you need, it will have instructions on creating a couple GPTs in your business. And it will also have this recording with it. And so You can get to it with that link. It's 50% off for the first 50 people. So if you use that code build50, you'll get it. And I'll put this in the follow-up email as well. And then the price will go up after the beta. So I'm not sure how long the beta will last. I want to make sure that y'all get this and I get good feedback from you. So don't be surprised if I ask any one of you for a 30-minute call and I want to see how it's going and we work through some of the rough edges because I want to make sure this is a really good launch pad for people who are building GPTs. And then I talked about the follow-up and automation. So in the chat, really quickly, I know we're at time, but in the chat, if you could share what are things that you would like to automate, that would be really, really helpful. I know in the next 2 weeks, we're going to talk about how you can not just create GPTs to support your business, but take something that you do and turn it into a GPT. But I definitely want to double back in and show you how to create automated workflows. So what happens if I have a Google Sheet of ideas and then I want the Google Sheet to go and I want to run an automation that says, okay, these are my 3 ideas. Go draft the blogs for me now. But I still want it to use my brand identity, right? And I still want it to use my voice instructions, right? I think that's what I mean when I say automating workflows with AI. And so if there are any workflow processes you want to see automated, drop those in the chat. Let's see. And you said, I'm not even sure what's possible for automation in my biz. Look, now I have automated things. I have automated taking my podcast episodes, turning those into transcript blog posts and writing the show notes. I've even automated the smashing up of the audio and using AI to edit the audio. So to me, it's whatever. If there's anything that could be put into an app or done online, it could be automated. I set up some automations recently using AI where if I label something in my inbox with the app calendar tag that I have, AI will run through that specific email and pull out any to-dos or any dates and action items and then add them to my Google Calendar for me, right? And so those are just some of the things I've done most recently. Sue said, I create workflows and processes for my clients. I would love to automate this. Yes. Okay, Sue. That can be done on different levels, actually. Whether that is creating automations with templates. Let me stop my screen share. Creating automations with templates so that way you share it with your clients, or there are some more sophisticated services that will let you build a fully automated workflow, but then let your client log in with their own logins and run the workflow. So you manage the workflow and how it's all built, but then you allow your clients to log in with their logins. And so it's being able to sell your own automations. And your client doesn't have to worry about anything other than paying you whatever you charge them. But you maintain the automations and you update the workflows yourself on their behalf. Emails, follow-ups. Yes. Deb said newsletters and thought pieces. Rhonda said, I need a marketing assistant. And I wonder if I could build content and send it to Metricool drafts. Ooh, using Meg. That's a whole session right there. That's very possible. Brianna said, I do have a Google Doc of hundreds of pages. I'd love to comb through it to help me organize and streamline and strategize what's in there. Yep, that's definitely possible. Repurposing of audio for sure. And then we have onboarding processes. Yes, I like using AI to help me improve my onboarding processes in different ways. One, just creating the automation, putting AI into some of the automated steps in my onboarding process. But 2, using ChatGPT to help me refine intake questions. I might even say, hey, I'm seeing this problem with certain clients or these missteps or miscommunications. This is my onboarding flow. How do I fix it? And so there's so many different ways when you use it as a thought partner versus an automation in the step. More newsletters and blogs I see here from Grizel. Personalized networking opportunities. Okay, this is so good. I love how all the juices are flowing, y'all. So I'm excited for the next sessions. Again, in 2 weeks, we're going to talk about how you can create a GPT that behaves more like you. So today we made assistants to kind of delegate things that I don't normally do, that aren't really in my wheelhouse or my expertise. But if I wanted to create a GPT that is a little bit more like me, right, in a specific area and get a specific result, then how would I go about doing that? That's what we're going to talk about in 2 weeks. And then we'll double back to workflow automation after that. Okay, y'all, this was great. I know we're over time. We're over 5 minutes over time. That's probably a lot if you got something to get to. But I will send a link as well for the offer, again with the coupon code. And then I'm excited to drop it on Friday. So it's a pre-order, by the way, and get y'all's feedback. So yes, I'm so happy this was beneficial to everyone, and I will talk to y'all soon.